The first time I started questioning toothpaste, I felt almost guilty for even thinking about it. We grow up believing that brushing harder, buying stronger products, and using mouthwash that burns like fire are signs that we're taking care of ourselves. It feels responsible. It feels like discipline, like we're doing the right thing by our bodies, by our families, by the people around us. Nobody questions toothpaste. Nobody questions mouthwash. These are just things people do, twice a day, every day, without thinking. But one night, while staring at my reflection after my gums bled again into the sink, I remembered something that completely changed the way I saw oral health forever. It wasn't a dentist who changed my perspective. It wasn't a product. It wasn't even an article I read online. It was a memory. My grandmother lived well into old age with strong teeth, healthy gums, fresh breath, and a smile that never carried the insecurity so many people silently struggle with today. She laughed openly. She spoke closely to people without hesitation. She never seemed worried about her breath, never flinched when the dentist leaned in, never avoided certain foods because her teeth had become too sensitive to handle them. Her smile was effortless in a way that felt almost unusual to me as an adult, because I realized at some point that effortless oral health had quietly become rare. And yet, she never used the aggressive chemical products we now consider essential. No alcohol mouthwash, no whitening strips, no harsh foaming toothpaste packed with ingredients nobody can pronounce, no charcoal scrubs, no enamel-blasting whitening kits. She relied on natural methods passed down through generations. Simple, consistent, gentle approaches to oral care that treated the mouth as something to be maintained, not chemically attacked every single morning. And somehow, despite modern dentistry supposedly being more advanced than ever, millions of people today are suffering from bleeding gums, chronic bad breath, dry mouth, sensitivity, inflammation, and the constant fear of speaking too close to someone. Not a few people, not an unlucky minority. Millions, quietly, every single day. That contradiction stayed in my mind and wouldn't let go. Because if modern oral care is truly working, why are so many people still dealing with these problems? Why do people who brush twice a day, floss regularly, and use mouthwash religiously still show up to dental appointments with inflamed gums and bacterial buildup? Why does bad breath persist even after someone has just brushed? Why does sensitivity keep getting worse despite using sensitivity toothpaste for years? Something wasn't adding up, and the deeper I looked into it, the more uncomfortable the answer became. What if the problem isn't that people aren't brushing enough? What if the real issue is that modern oral care has been destroying the very ecosystem inside the mouth that was designed to protect us in the first place? I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me, because once you understand what's actually happening inside your mouth, it's almost impossible to look at your morning routine the same way again. Most people never hear about the oral microbiome. It's one of those topics that gets buried under advertising for whitening toothpastes and antibacterial mouthwashes. But inside your mouth lives an entire community of bacteria, a complex living ecosystem, some harmful, yes, but many absolutely essential for protecting your gums, supporting enamel integrity, controlling inflammation, maintaining fresh breath, and even supporting immune balance throughout the body. This ecosystem has existed inside the human mouth for hundreds of thousands of years. It evolved alongside us. It developed to work with our biology, not against it. Beneficial bacteria in the mouth help break down food in healthy ways, prevent harmful strains from taking over, regulate pH levels that protect enamel, produce compounds that actively fight inflammation, and maintain a chemical environment where gum tissue can stay healthy and intact. It is, in every biological sense of the word, a living defense system. And what shocked me was discovering that many conventional toothpastes and alcohol-based mouthwashes don't just target harmful bacteria, they wipe out everything, indiscriminately, with no regard for what's beneficial and what's destructive. Every time you rinse with an alcohol-based mouthwash, you're not just removing bad bacteria, you're removing the good ones too. Every time you brush with a heavily chemical formula, you're not just cleaning your teeth, you're disrupting an ecosystem that took years to develop, like biological warfare happening twice a day, inside your own mouth with your own hands. And once that balance is destroyed, the mouth becomes vulnerable in ways most people never connect back to their oral care routine. Harmful bacteria begin to dominate the newly emptied space. Inflammation quietly spreads beneath the gum line where it's invisible but constant. Breath becomes harder to control no matter how often you brush, because the beneficial bacteria that used to regulate odor-producing compounds are simply gone. Sensitivity increases as the chemical environment shifts and enamel loses its natural protection. Dry mouth worsens as the microbial landscape changes. The tongue develops that strange, persistent coating that feels impossible to remove. Some people even notice sinus discomfort, recurring throat irritation, or a constant metallic taste they can't explain. All signs that the oral environment has become deeply imbalanced. Suddenly, it made complete sense why so many people feel trapped in a cycle of temporary fixes that never truly solve anything. Brush harder, use stronger mouthwash, switch to a more aggressive toothpaste, whiten more frequently, add more steps to the routine, but nothing truly changes. The bleeding continues, the breath comes back, the sensitivity lingers, the gums stay inflamed. The dental appointments keep bringing the same disappointing news because the ecosystem itself was never restored. The root problem was never addressed. The foundation was never rebuilt. And that's when I discovered something ancient that modern science is only now beginning to fully understand. The real transformation, the kind that creates lasting change instead of a few hours of freshness, begins when the mouth is repopulated with beneficial bacteria again, not attacked, not sterilized, not chemically overwhelmed, restored. What fascinated me most was learning that certain traditional cultures around the world had a completely different philosophy toward oral health. They focused less on killing germs and more on maintaining balance inside the mouth naturally. They understood intuitively what modern science is only now beginning to quantify, that the mouth is not a sterile environment and it was never supposed to be. The goal was never zero bacteria. The goal was always the right bacteria, in the right balance, doing the work they were designed to do. Today, researchers are rediscovering this ancient wisdom through probiotic science and mineral restoration, a completely different philosophy from the harsh kill-everything approach that now lines every pharmacy shelf. That discovery led me into what many now call an ancient mouth detox approach. And honestly, it changed the way I think about oral health forever. And if what I'm sharing right now is already making you question everything you thought you knew about oral care, you're not alone. Thousands of people have already started this journey, and we've left a complete guide in the first link in the description and in the pinned comment below. Everything you need to understand how this oral microbiome restoration approach works is right there, waiting for you. Instead of flooding the mouth with chemicals that disrupt its natural balance, this ancient detox method focuses on something entirely different, delivering beneficial probiotics directly into the oral environment consistently and in concentrations powerful enough to actually begin rebuilding what years of conventional products may have slowly destroyed. The idea is simple but profoundly powerful. If harmful bacteria thrive because the ecosystem is damaged and undefended, then rebuilding the ecosystem itself may help create a healthier oral environment, one where inflammation-causing and odor-producing bacteria struggle to survive because they're being outcompeted by beneficial strains that belong there. This is not a new idea invented by marketers. It's a principle that mirrors what nature designed in the first place. Your mouth was never meant to be a sterile chemical environment. It was meant to be a thriving, balanced biological ecosystem. And when it is, remarkable things begin to happen. Gums that used to bleed during brushing begin to calm. Breath that used to return within hours of brushing begins to stay fresher for longer. Sensitivity that made eating certain foods uncomfortable begins to ease. The strange coating on the tongue begins to improve. The dry, uncomfortable feeling that made speaking feel embarrassing starts to fade. Not because something powerful attacked the problem, but because the environment itself changed. Now, the most advanced oral probiotic formulas in this space contain around 3.5 billion beneficial probiotics, designed specifically for the oral environment, not just the gut, helping support gum health, fresher breath, tongue balance, and overall oral comfort in ways traditional toothpaste never truly addressed. And the formula that brought all of this together for me, the one that seemed to understand what the mouth actually needed, is called Prodentum. Prodentum is unlike anything most people have ever tried or experienced when it comes to oral care. It's not a toothpaste, it's not a mouthwash, it's not a rinse. It's a specially formulated oral probiotic tablet, designed to be slowly dissolved in the mouth so that its 3.5 billion beneficial probiotics and carefully selected nutrients can be delivered directly where they're needed most, into the oral environment itself, repopulating the microbiome from the inside out. Every single Prodentum tablet is engineered to support the health of your gums and teeth, not by attacking bacteria, but by rebuilding the environment that keeps harmful bacteria under control naturally. And what makes it genuinely different from anything I'd seen before is what's actually inside it. Let's talk about the ingredients, because this is where things get truly fascinating. Lactobacillus paracasei is one of the most studied probiotic strains in oral microbiome research. What researchers have found is remarkable. This strain doesn't just survive in the oral environment, it actively works to support the health of gum tissue. It helps create conditions where gum inflammation is less likely to take hold and where the bacterial balance around the gum line stays healthier over time. But what surprised me even more was learning about its connection to sinus health. Many people never realize this, but the mouth, sinuses, and nasal passages are intimately connected. When the oral microbiome is disrupted, some people begin experiencing sinus discomfort, chronic congestion, or recurring irritation that seems to have no obvious cause. Lactobacillus paracasi has been studied for its potential to support open, comfortable sinuses, suggesting that restoring oral balance may have benefits that extend well beyond the teeth and gums. It's a reminder that the body doesn't operate in isolated compartments. Everything is connected. B. lactis BL04R is another clinically recognized probiotic strain that plays a fascinating role in the oral environment. This particular strain has been studied for its ability to support the balance of bacteria throughout the mouth, helping maintain the kind of microbial harmony that keeps harmful strains from dominating. But its benefits don't stop at the gum line. B. lactis BL04R has also been researched for its support of the respiratory tract and its role in maintaining a healthy, responsive immune system. This matters more than most people realize. Chronic oral inflammation doesn't stay contained. It sends signals throughout the body that can affect immune function, respiratory comfort, and overall inflammatory balance. By supporting the immune system at the level of the oral microbiome, B. lactis BL04R addresses the problem at a level most oral care products never reach. Lactobacillus reuteri may be one of the most important discoveries in this entire space, and for many people, learning about it is the moment everything finally clicks. This probiotic strain has attracted significant scientific attention for two primary reasons. First, it has demonstrated a remarkable ability to help calm inflammatory responses in the oral environment. For people dealing with chronically inflamed, sensitive, or bleeding gums, this is potentially transformative because inflammation, not just bacteria, is at the root of so much gum disease. Second, Lactobacillus reuteri has been studied for its ability to create conditions where odor-causing bacteria struggle to survive. Think about what that means for someone who has spent years, sometimes decades, dealing with persistent bad breath, despite brushing multiple times a day, using mouthwash regularly, and trying every product on the shelf. The bad breath wasn't a hygiene failure. It was an ecosystem failure. And when the ecosystem begins to shift, when Lactobacillus reuteri begins doing what it was designed to do, the change can feel genuinely life-changing. But Prodentim's approach doesn't stop with probiotics. What makes this formula so profoundly different from anything else available is how it combines those 3.5 billion beneficial bacteria with a proprietary blend of 4 plants and minerals specifically chosen to nourish, strengthen, and protect the oral microbiome, not strip it away. Inulin is a naturally occurring prebiotic fiber, and its role in this formula is essential. Think of inulin as food for beneficial bacteria, fuel that helps the probiotic strains not just survive in the oral environment, but thrive. Without prebiotic support, even the most carefully selected probiotic strains can struggle to establish themselves. With inulin, the beneficial bacteria have everything they need to grow, colonize, and do their work effectively. It's a critical piece of the puzzle that most probiotic formulas overlook entirely. Malic acid, naturally found in strawberries and other fruits, has been explored as a gentle, natural support for maintaining tooth whiteness. This is fascinating for several reasons. Most whitening products work by using harsh peroxide chemicals or abrasive compounds that essentially strip the surface of the tooth, temporarily brightening it while increasing sensitivity and potentially damaging enamel over time. Malic acid works differently. It may help maintain the natural whiteness of enamel without the aggressive chemical action that causes so many people to abandon whitening products after a few weeks of discomfort. A naturally brighter smile, supported gently rather than forced chemically. Tricalcium phosphate plays a foundational role in supporting enamel health and mineral balance within the tooth structure. Enamel is not a living tissue. Once it's damaged or worn away, the body cannot regenerate it. But what research has shown is that the mineral environment surrounding teeth can either support enamel integrity or accelerate its breakdown. Tricalcium phosphate helps maintain the mineral balance that keeps enamel strong and resilient, which is especially important for people who have experienced sensitivity, early-stage erosion, or general weakening of their teeth over time. Peppermint rounds out the proprietary blend, and its role goes far beyond the fresh breath function most people associate with it. Peppermint has been studied for its natural anti-inflammatory properties, and within the oral environment, this matters enormously. It may help create a naturally soothing, calm environment inside the mouth, one where discomfort eases, gum tissue feels less aggravated, and the overall experience of oral care shifts from harsh and chemical to genuinely refreshing. No burning sensation, no artificial sharpness, just a clean, natural comfort that comes from something the body actually recognizes. ProDentim is natural formula, made with ingredients the body knows how to work with. Easy to use, simply chew one tablet slowly each morning, letting it dissolve naturally. Non-GMO, no genetically modified organisms, no stimulants, nothing that artificially activates or disrupts the body's natural rhythms. Non-habit forming, designed to support the body toward natural balance, not create dependency. Gluten-free, suitable for those with gluten sensitivities or intolerances. It doesn't ask you to overhaul your entire routine. It doesn't replace brushing. It works alongside your existing habits to address the layer that conventional oral care has always ignored, the living ecosystem inside your mouth. The more I understood all of this, the more I realized why so many people feel genuinely exhausted by traditional dental products. They're tired of temporary solutions that fade before lunchtime, tired of the sensitivity that flares up after whitening treatments, tired of bleeding gums that their dentist keeps telling them to brush more carefully around, tired of hiding their smile in photos, tired of the self-consciousness that comes with not being sure whether people can smell their breath when they lean in to speak, tired of spending money on product after product after product and never feeling like anything actually changed at a fundamental level. And this approach feels profoundly different because it doesn't fight against the body. It works with it. It gives the oral environment what it was always designed to have, a thriving community of beneficial bacteria supported by the minerals and natural compounds they need to do their job. Simple, natural, non-GMO, stimulant-free, gluten-free, no aggressive chemicals performing nightly warfare against your own biology. Instead, imagine beneficial bacteria and natural minerals slowly, consistently rebuilding the environment inside your mouth every single day. The way a damaged ecosystem gradually returns to balance when the conditions finally allow it to. If you're struggling with bleeding gums, chronic bad breath, dry mouth, sensitivity, or the quiet daily insecurity of oral discomfort, the complete guide to how ProDentim works is in the first link in the description and the pinned comment below. Everything you need is there, including how people are using this approach naturally and what to expect as the oral microbiome begins to restore itself. What really shifted my perspective at the deepest level, though, was finally understanding something that most oral care conversations never even mention. The mouth is not separate from the rest of the body. It is the gateway. Everything that enters the body passes through the mouth first. Every breath, every meal, every drop of water, and the bacterial environment of the mouth, whether balanced or disrupted, has consequences that ripple outward through systems most people would never connect to their teeth and gums. Researchers continue to study how chronic oral inflammation may influence cardiovascular health, how the bacterial balance of the mouth may affect digestion and gut microbiome composition, how persistent oral infections and inflammation may contribute to systemic inflammatory responses that affect joints, cognitive function, and overall immune resilience. How the connection between oral health and respiratory wellness is more direct than most people ever imagine, because every breath draws air past the oral environment, and whatever lives there gets carried along. When the bacterial environment inside the mouth becomes chronically unbalanced, the consequences don't stay local. They don't stay contained between your teeth and your gum line. They spread, silently, over months and years, contributing to levels of background inflammation that affect how the body feels, how it recovers, how it ages. That means healthier gums and fresher breath are not just cosmetic goals. They may be early signs that the internal environment is improving, that inflammation is easing, that the immune system has one less chronic battle to fight, that the body is returning, and slowly but meaningfully, to something closer to its natural equilibrium. And maybe that's exactly why people often report feeling not just physically better, but emotionally lighter when oral inflammation finally begins to calm. Confidence returns, social anxiety around speaking and smiling eases. There's a certain freedom that comes with not constantly monitoring your breath, not second-guessing your smile, not feeling like your mouth is a problem you're perpetually managing. Let me ask you something honestly. Where are you watching from right now? And have you ever, even once, felt genuinely embarrassed because of bad breath, gum sensitivity, or the fear of smiling too closely to someone? Because if you have, I want you to know with complete sincerity, you are not alone, not even close. Millions of people silently carry that specific kind of insecurity every single day. They smile with their lips closed in photos. They angle their face slightly away when they speak. They pop breath mints not because they feel fresh, but because they're not sure whether they are. They leave dental appointments feeling vaguely ashamed. as though their chronic gum inflammation is a reflection of laziness or poor discipline, when in reality, many of them brush more carefully and consistently than people with perfectly healthy gums. The problem was never effort. The problem was never discipline. The problem was an oral environment that had been stripped out of balance, possibly for years, possibly for decades, by the very products designed to help it. And the genuinely encouraging part of all of this? The body tends to respond incredibly well when it's finally given what it actually needs. The oral microbiome, like all ecosystems, has a natural tendency toward balance when the conditions allow it, when harmful bacteria no longer have unchallenged territory, when beneficial strains are introduced consistently and in sufficient numbers, when the right minerals and prebiotics are present to support that recovery, the environment begins to shift, slowly at first, then more noticeably. And for many people, the changes they experience in gum comfort, in breath freshness, in sensitivity levels, in overall oral confidence, begin to feel like something they had quietly stopped believing was possible. That's why so many people are now turning away from harsher and harsher conventional products and moving toward natural microbiome supporting strategies that address the actual root of the problem, not just the symptoms, the root. Let's take a moment to revisit something important, because I think it helps to see the full picture clearly. The conventional oral care industry operates on a simple, repeating cycle. A product is sold on the promise of cleaner, whiter, fresher, and for a few hours that promise is kept. The mouth feels clean, breath feels fresh, teeth look brighter. But by afternoon, the bacterial environment has begun to reestablish itself, because bacteria always do, and the need for the next application returns. More brushing, more rinsing, more mouthwash, and every application further disrupts the ecosystem, making the next temporary fix necessary sooner. It's not a path toward health, it's a path toward dependency on products that manage symptoms without ever addressing the underlying imbalance. The ancient mouth detox philosophy breaks this cycle at its source. By consistently introducing beneficial bacteria into the oral environment, 3.5 billion probiotics with every single dose, and by supporting those bacteria with prebiotics, minerals, and natural anti-inflammatory compounds. This approach doesn't just clean the mouth temporarily. It works to rebuild the biological environment that was always meant to protect it. And once that environment begins to stabilize, once beneficial bacteria begin to establish genuine presence and the harmful strains lose their unchallenged dominance, the experience of oral health begins to change in ways that feel fundamentally different from anything a toothpaste has ever produced. There's also something worth saying about the experience of using ProDentim itself. This isn't a product that asks for sacrifice. It doesn't burn. It doesn't create sensitivity. It doesn't leave that strange chemical film that some mouthwashes leave behind. It's a simple, pleasant, chewable tablet, taken once in the morning, that dissolves slowly in the mouth and allows its 3.5 billion probiotics and carefully selected ingredients to be delivered directly into the oral environment. No complicated protocols, no aggressive routines, no products that make your eyes water or your gums feel raw afterward. Just a natural, non-habit-forming, gluten-free, non-GMO formula that works quietly, consistently, and in cooperation with the body's own biology. That simplicity is itself part of the philosophy. Health doesn't have to be aggressive to be effective. The most powerful biological processes are often the quietest ones, running in the background, restoring balance, supporting function, creating the conditions for the body to do what it was always designed to do. At the end of all of this, what stayed with me most deeply was realizing that my grandmother may have understood something important long before modern science had the vocabulary to explain it. She didn't think about oral health as a war to be won. She thought about it as a balance to be maintained. She understood, perhaps intuitively, through generations of accumulated wisdom, that the mouth thrives when it's supported, not when it's chemically bombarded. Health is rarely created through constant destruction. It's created through balance, through nourishment, through working with the biological systems that evolution spent hundreds of thousands of years refining, rather than overriding them with synthetic substitutes. And modern science is finally, slowly, with the careful language of clinical research, beginning to rediscover what ancient natural approaches seem to know all along. When the oral microbiome is nourished correctly, when beneficial bacteria are present in the right numbers and supported by the right environment, the body often responds in ways that feel powerful, surprising, and deeply encouraging. So, if you've been struggling with sensitive gums that bleed when you brush, chronic bad breath that returns no matter what you try, persistent dry mouth that makes speaking uncomfortable, enamel sensitivity that limits what you can eat, or the quiet daily insecurity that comes with not trusting your own smile, know this with certainty: your body may not need stronger chemicals. It may simply need restoration, a return to balance, a rebuilding of the ecosystem that was always designed to protect you, a healthier smile, a calmer mouth, fresh breath without fear, and the genuine, uncomplicated confidence to speak, laugh, lean in, and smile again without constantly monitoring whether someone is noticing something you're trying to hide. That confidence is not a luxury. It is something you deserve to have back. If this message connected with something real for you, if you recognized your own experience somewhere in what I shared today, the complete guide to the ProDentim Oral Microbiome Restoration Approach is waiting for you in the first link in the description and in the pinned comment below. It includes everything you need to understand the probiotic strains, the mineral support, the natural ingredients, and how people are using this approach to finally rebuild a healthier oral environment from the inside out. And before you go, if this video gave you even one new way of thinking about your oral health, please subscribe to this channel, because we are going much deeper into the science behind natural health, inflammation, microbiome restoration, and the fascinating connections between the mouth and the rest of the body in the videos ahead. Your healing journey may be starting with your mouth, but it certainly doesn't end there.